Welcome to Oregon Cash Flow Pro. This is our high yield dividend ETF update for September 7th, 2025. For you astute observers of the thumbnail, you'll notice we added a new ETF. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. You can see our current weekly projected dividend in our Roth accounts, $3,295, and our non-Roth accounts, all of our after-tax accounts, $2,556. That is a monthly dividend amount. Let's check out the current breakdown. But first, we added a new feature to the spreadsheet. We've got charts. So I added two charts. We have our total weekly dividend payout in graph form, so it's easy to see what's happening week to week. And then we also have a second chart where we have our total cost and our total dividends paid out. So this is going to be kind of fun to watch as the dividends grow and eventually surpass our cost. That's the idea with these, right? When we get to that point, that means that we are now 100% operating with house money. As you know, I like to look at these ETFs as like rental properties. We buy the rental property and then the rents continue to kick out until it's paid for. And at that point, it's all profits, baby. Over here, you can see the actual numbers because some of them are so small, I can't get it to do it. So that one's just a small amount here, but here's our totals for each ticker. Now, if you are tracking with this spreadsheet, there will be an updated version in the Discord. You got to go to the specific channel for the high yield dividend ETFs, and you'll find a copy of the spreadsheet is pinned there. You can just take this and use it yourself. Our Discord members have access to that. If you want access to our Discord, just become a channel member. It's $1 a month. Basically, it just keeps trolls out of our Discord, and it's been pretty effective. So you can get a copy of this if you join our Discord. I'm constantly adding to it. So if I do add to it, you can go get the new copy. However, if you already have the other one, you might just copy the sheet and add it to yours. So you copy the whole new spreadsheet and then just copy the particular sheet out of it and copy it to your existing spreadsheet. If you do that, it should work. Now, most of these are designed so that you can just grab and drag if you add new tickers. You always start with the first page where the holdings are. You add your ticker in here, drag it over to make a new section, add your ticker in. All the main information comes up here on the front page. But sometimes the drag doesn't work exactly right. I've tried my best, but sometimes it's just too challenging for me to make the drag work. Here on this one, this is our distribution form. You can just drag from this one. So if we just put this in, drag down, this one works. Nothing you have to do over here. You just input these, it works. These ones, you got to drag a few of them at a time because this is going to pull for the week. If I just grab one of these and drag down, it's just going to add one day to each date. So if you grab a few weeks, now it knows that you want it to do weekly, and it'll pull matching the prior weeks, whatever that start date is. All right, and then these ones, you just grab it, and it'll add in these zeros. Now, the charts, this one pulls from the distribution page. So I have these connected to the actual dividend payout. That's happening on this page right here. So when you fill this in, let's say, you add a day over here. This takes us into the next week. Let's make this $100,000. Okay. So now here on our chart, it automatically pulled it in. That one works. And then our other chart, this one pulls from the first page. So if you click here, you can see it pulls from the first page, holdings. Now this is where it doesn't work to just grab and drag. The formula is more complicated than this, and I didn't have time to figure it out. But essentially, if you do just grab and drag, it's going to pop in the same one. But if you look up above, the only thing that changes is this one. For some reason, that doesn't change, even though I don't have it set to hold. So all you do is you just keep that pattern going. So here you would just put J in this spot. And then this one, K. And that'll get you the next ones in line from this page. That'll get you the next ones in line. So J, K, and L, whatever's in there. Now, normally, I'll just come in and do that. I certainly do it after I update those ones. And then here, for these ones, again, we're just going to drag. So let's do both of these at the same time. We're going to drag, and you can see here's the pattern, H, I, J. So we put J in there, we put K in here, and now those are pulling from these tickers on the first page. Okay, so that's that. There's no values there, and so it didn't update our actual bar chart here. But when we do the bar chart, you're going to want to make this go longer than, B8. So, and C8. So we're going to adjust these to go out to 10. There we go. Now we have those ones in here. Simple, but it does take just a little bit of work when we add some tickers to these. Now, I usually just wait until I do it because I don't need to get too far ahead of myself until I add those. Mostly it's a time management thing, and I'm not the most adept at doing these spreadsheets. So it does take me a little bit of time. So if you appreciate the time I'm putting into this, leave a comment. Let me know if you're actually using the spreadsheet so that I know if it's valuable for me to keep updating this so you guys keep using it. Because I don't get to see if you're using it. You're making your own copy and you're going to be utilizing this. So let me know. I'm just trying to provide you guys with some value and does nothing for me. All right, let's look at our actual returns here. We had a bit of a down week in the market, so we see some more reds in here. We also saw Bitcoin and Ethereum, basically your crypto holdings, down. And a lot of our holdings are crypto-based. So LFGY has crypto, MSTY is based on crypto, XBTY is crypto, Blocks is crypto, Bito is crypto. And coin basically fluctuates along with Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptos. So it's not surprising that we're down a bit as far as that goes. It does bring our overall total return into the negative. qdte still up. This one, not Bitcoin related, and Triple Q is actually doing pretty good. So we're looking good on that front. ULTY is kind of a mixed bag. A lot of their underlyings took a hit. So that one's struggling a bit this week. I'm not too concerned about any of this. We're basically shooting for holding on to these until the dividends pay for what we paid for. And that is right here, months until money printing. So LFGY, we got 20 months. And then we're working on house money. 31 months on qdte, 14 on MSTY, 13 XBTY, 15 on ULTY, 37 on Blocks, 8 on coyy. This one was 7 last week. The dividend dropped a bit this week, along with the value of coin coming down and ultimately reduced volatility when that happens. You don't get as much selling the premium when the stock price goes lower as you did when it was higher and volatility was up a little bit. So there's that. Our return on investment went from in the 180s down now to 176. It's still really good. It's really strong. It will likely continue to keep coming down, but I still expect it to pay off fairly quickly. And if crypto goes back up, if Bitcoin goes back up, we should see this also go back up. Now, Blocks, this was one we got into last week. These guys are shooting for NAV growth and a consistent payout of around 36%. This one's only slightly down, even though Bitcoin and crypto in general took a hit. Now, these guys are focused on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And they're also doing some type of a spread strategy where they're selling put spreads and selling call spreads. So I like what these guys are doing. If they meet their target, we should see about 3 years for a payoff and NAV growth along the way, because they're shooting for a 50% return, 36% of it paid out as dividends. Hopefully, the other 14% is going to go to that NAV growth. I like that strategy. I like having a mix of how these things are operating. coyy, which was one we got into last week, this one is based off of selling options on CONL, which is a Coinbase ETF that's a 2X. That's a leveraged one, which gives higher premium on selling the options, which is why you see this get up so high. They're not just selling options on coin. This one's going to be very volatile because of that 2X. So we'll monitor it, but essentially we're not going to be too much at risk with just this one in relation to the overall portfolio. Remember, we updated our spreadsheet last week to add in fund managers where we're tracking how much exposure do we have among the different advisor companies. So we've got YieldMax ETFs at about 63%. We have a lot of exposure in YieldMax, mostly because we have a big position in LFGY. LFGY, every time I see that one, I'm like, let's freaking go, y'all. That's what that ticker does in my head every time I read it. We've got 10% in Roundhill. We've got 21% in Granite shares. That's your XBTY and COYY. We've got 4% in Nicholas. This is blocks. Now, Yield Max does their trades for them. They work with Yield Max, but they pick the strategy. So we do count this as separate from Yield Max, not the same people coming up with the strategy. Yield Max actually also does some trading for some of the ticker symbols for Granite shares, if I recall. And then we've got ProShares, which is, well, we don't have a position here. It's in our other one. But ProShares is another separate company that does things with bito. So as we add more, we'll fill these in, trying to keep track of these just so we know kind of what our exposure is to the different trading teams and the different styles out there. Here we've got our cost basis. We just added a little bit this last week here in one of our Roth accounts. Not too much. I do expect we'll be looking to add some more this next week, especially if prices stay down. So we're going to be looking hard on Monday. For those of you new watching this sheet gives us our average across all brokerages. So my spreadsheet, we got it from Dividends on Repeat. Theirs is designed if you just have one brokerage account. I have multiple brokerage accounts, especially between me and my wife when it comes to our Roth accounts. So I needed a place to be able to track multiple brokerages. This does that. We plug in our buys and sells. It automatically updates our average price here. And I also have it broken down for each different account. So this works out really good for me. If you've got multiple brokerages accounts, you want to track these things, you might as well hop in our Discord, snag a copy of this, figure out how to make it work for you. This works great for me. I've been really happy with this, but we did have to spend quite a bit of time making it work for multiple brokerages. There's a bunch more that you can do with this spreadsheet that I just don't even use. All right, here's our distributions in our Roth accounts for this week. This week started 8:30. It ended 9:05. So all next week, we'll update you next week. But what we're looking at over here, if you want to see the actual payouts for each ticker, it starts after 8:30. So right here through here. Those are our dividend payouts for this week. You see, we're slightly down from the week before, but that's because we had a monthly payout last week with MSTY. MSTY actually paid out over $250. So if we subtract that from last week's, you can see our dividend payout is actually up. That's because we added coyy, and some of those dividends started to pay out this week. So we should see an increase each week with our new holdings that we're buying. And what I anticipate happening here is that we're going to have our big positions, which we hold steady. Those dividends are going to be paying out, and we're going to be putting those dollars back into where we're trying to expand. Currently, that's blocks and coyy and likely XBTY. Let's go back here to our fund manager spots. We're going to see where we're short. Right here, blocks. We want to be adding to that. Coyy, we'll probably be adding a little bit more to coyy. And then we will probably come in and add some of GDXY and bito. GDXY, gold miners ETF. Gold's pretty popular at the moment. And certainly if inflation looks like it's going to be rearing its ugly head, it's a good place to store some cash. Okay, so back to our holdings page. This is where we're currently at. Current value of our portfolio, $51,000. We paid $58,000. We've had dividends paid out of over $6,000. So we're slightly down on that, but not a whole lot. And I don't put in the distributions until I receive them. We know when they get paid out, and when I'm going to get paid happens to be a few days later. It depends on the brokerage. It's kind of annoying. It would be a lot easier if they all paid on the same day, but they don't. So it does give us a slight delay when we're looking at this. So we're just kind of tracking this long term. Now, if you're using the spreadsheet, you can also plug in some goals right here, and it'll tell you how much cash you need if you want to buy those and what your projected dividend payout monthly would be if you reach that. So essentially, we're at 58,000 in right now. If we added another 168,000 in, we could be getting 13,900 per month in dividend payouts if we end up at these share levels. And that's adding the shares needed right here. That's adding these ones. All right, that's it for that spreadsheet. Let's look at our non-qualified. We're at current dividend income of $25.56, paid $4,600, current value $42,900, slightly negative. Now this also in part to us adding funds here that we haven't gotten paid any dividends yet on these. Now these two are going to be monthly. This one, we have a slight delay. Actually picked up a bunch of shares of this, but silly me, I did it on the ex-dividend date. So we're not going to get the bigger one till this coming week. And that will impact us because this dividend has been declared, but we haven't received the money on it. So actually, when this dividend pays out, we'll probably be positive ever so slightly in here. You can see our dividends to date, 3,762. Currently holding 410 LFGY, 251 qdte, 20 MSTY. This one has been rough. MSTY's been taking a big hit, but so has MSTY, the underlying on this one. We only have 20 shares, so not too concerned about it. And we may end up adding more in here, but it is not a priority at the moment because we have lots of exposure to Bitcoin through a lot of these. We got XBTY 210, ULTY we're at 850, blocks we've got 100, coyy 270, GDXY we added 100 this week, and then bito we added 100 last week. Coyy we added 270 last week. So these are our newcomers, and excited to see where these are going to end up. Distributions. You can see our distributions went up just a bit. Remember our monthly payouts, we don't have very many in this after-tax brokerage account. So that's why when we added those, we see the increase from last week because our monthly payout with MSTY was very, very small. Everything from 830 down is this week on our payouts and our lovely charts that we added here. So we can see that payout. We should see this continue to climb as we go, other than the occasional pop-up where we have our monthly payouts. And then here's our dividend amount by ticker. Going to be exciting to watch these go up as the dividends pay out and our cost basis holds steady. Here's our cost basis. We added a little bit here, added some more blocks so to bring us up to 100 on that. And then we also added GDXY. So those were the two adds that we did this week. Here's our average across all the brokerages for each ticker symbol. And then here's each individual brokerage account. This one is our big one here. And then let's look at the breakdown. This one is a little bit more spread out. We've got 45% in Yield Max ETFs, 21% in Roundhill, 23 in Granite shares, 5 in Nicholas Crypto, and 4.66 in Pro shares. I like this balance a lot better than where I'm at in the other one, but this one's a bit easier because I can just add money to these after-tax accounts and get this up. Plus, I do a bit more trading. I do a bit more active trading in these. We had some good trades this last week, bumped us up a bit. We're going to funnel those into these as well this coming week, as well as the dividends that kick out. So where do we plan on adding this week? I'm likely going to try to get blocks, the one here with Nicholas Crypto, and Pro shares. I'm going to likely get those up, but then we also want to see GDXY, which is Yield Max. I do want to add to GDXY, but Yield Max will still look to keep that under 50%. So quite possible that we add in fairly even increments between these two and then GDXY. I don't plan to add to LFGY at the moment, and I don't plan to add to MSTY or ULTY. So Yield Max will continue to go down in share, except for what we add to GDXY. So I like that plan. And once these get up a little bit more, now both of these are crypto. Crypto is very volatile, but my overall crypto portfolio is still very, very small. Even though my high yield dividend ETFs have quite a bit of crypto exposure, I don't hold crypto anywhere else. One of the things that I figured out a long time ago is if I own actual crypto, the crypto market trades 24 hours. And I find it very hard to get some sleep because I kind of pay attention to it. I really like that the actual stock market closes because it gives me time that I just don't have to think about it. I'm not interested in pulling it up and looking at it when there's not much action going on. That's me personally. I'm basically a trader at heart. So I like to be in things where essentially it gives my brain time to rest. So this is how I do that. I got a lot of money in my high cash value life insurance, which is really easy for me to just set it and forget. I've got a lot in whole life, which just grows every single week. Takes no mental effort whatsoever. I just know it's constantly going to be going up. And then I have a bunch of money in IULs, which is stock market based, but I can't lose. It doesn't go down. Essentially, they're trading call options inside of those. And I'm going to do a video here real soon about the beauty and simplicity of IULs and whole life. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested in learning more about those. But essentially, it gives me exposure to the upside of the stock market without the downside. Now, it does limit some of my upsides. It's definitely a safer product than actually being in the market, and I don't have to actively manage it. I can basically look at it a few times a year, if that. And other than that, I like to use that to help get myself some exposure to the overall broader market and different types of exposure than what I'm doing when I'm actively trading. So that's kind of how my financial portfolio works. I also have some commercial real estate and some residential real estate. So I'm pretty well spread out, you'll find. If you're interested in talking to me about anything financial, you can schedule a meeting with me. There may be a way that I can help you take a look at your portfolio. I do financial advising where we're looking at optimizing cash flow, utilize dynamic banking or velocity banking, infinite banking, other tax strategies that might be available, things that you might want to think about when you're looking at your overall financial portfolio. I'm not licensed to tell you how to do any particular things in the stock market, like buy this ticker or that ticker, rearrange your portfolio this way. But I can give advice on how I might treat a particular situation, or how I might look at reducing exposure, or through how I utilize options. What do I do to actually take a riskier position and make it safer? Like, those are the things I specialize in. So if there's a way that I can help you out, let's meet. I got free consultation for everybody. And if you've already met with me and utilized the free consultation, if you want to meet with me again, I do offer paid consultations. They're not even very expensive because I really like to give my time to helping people, but I can't give all of it away for free. I have to somehow try to limit everybody that's trying to pull at me and get some of my time, because I do have a very limited amount of time. I'm just one person after all, but I'm certainly happy to help however I can. One of the biggest ways I do that is by answering your questions in the comment section below. So certainly feel free to use that. If you're in our Discord, of course, I'll be active there. I'm always looking for new comments and questions, ways that I can help you people out. As far as priority goes, that's my number one priority. When I see questions between there and here, but I will always try to get to as much as I can. So I appreciate you joining me for this. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you can follow along, and definitely let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. And we'll see you next week when we update this again. The next 20 seconds determine your future. Subscribe, meet with me, or continue educating yourself with these videos right over here. I appreciate you. Now go maximize your cash flow.